MacIntyre here with us today. So, Steve, you're from Cape Breton, born, bred your whole life? You're
Yeah.
full-blown Cape Bretoner.
Full-blown Cape Bretoner, yeah. About as close to the mainland as you can get without getting wet, but...
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
No, I've been finding we have, for Nova Scotia anyway, we've been featuring, it's like Halifax-based bands, people from Pictou County, or people from Cape Breton.
Yeah.
Seems, I know there's musicians other places, but
sure.
That seems to be the highlights for our podcast anyway.
Yeah.
So you were nominated under the Americana Bluegrass Recording of the Year?
Yeah.
And that was from a self-titled album that you released just a year ago?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where did that album come from? Because I did go through a little bit of your history and your bio. Like I said, I could see that you've been from Cape Breton your whole life.
Yeah.
I do see in your bio too that you started playing guitar at the age of 12.
I did, yeah, a long time ago, and I didn't, really think too much of it when I started. I loved music. I just knew that I wanted to be doing something with music, and I've almost up until a few years ago, I've always had like a full-time gig. So music was a bit of, it was a hobby and stuff like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been at it a long time though. Been playing and singing and traveling around. So yeah, I just took it a little more seriously when I started writing a lot more myself, I guess.
Oh, okay. So that's well, I mean, COVID impacted everybody. The timing's right. So you had some time to write some original songs?
Yeah. I started the real big influx of my own material was pre-pandemic, I was able to get probably a good year's worth of playing these songs in front of people before they shut the world down. So, but yeah, once that happened, sorry, that's my dog there. Once that happened, I just wanted to use the time well, I guess.
Yeah.
Instead of just folding up the tent and waiting for the outcome, I thought, here's this chance. I'm stuck at home, and it takes a lot of work to put a record out. There's a lot of administrative things that you need to do, and I just had the time to do it. I had the songs kind of, at my back, pushing me out the door. So I just buckled down and made a record.
And in the past, like you said, you were playing pretty much your whole life. With your songs that you were playing out and about, like it was cover songs, but it's not all just traditional stuff, but you have a very deep voice.
Yeah.
When I don't always hear that in singing. Like lots of men have a deep voice, but when they sing, it's not as deep.
Right.
So I noticed that when I was first listening to your stuff, and then immediately I was like, well, he's got to be like a Stan Rogers fan or something. And then I saw your Stan Rogers covers in there too. So
right. Yeah.
You must have grown up around the traditional music, which is hard to avoid in the Cape Breton, Nova Scotia area.
Well, I mean, it's tough to avoid, but it's so good. I didn't feel like it was thrust upon me. I mean,
sure.
I had a couple of, probably just a couple of standout songs somewhere along the way, and then I started to, really actively seek this stuff out for myself because I liked it. And I get the Stan thing a lot, but again, that's just a baritone.
Oh yeah, that was absolutely
comparison, and geez, it's pretty good. It's a pretty nice compliment,
Nobody would complain about that comparison, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, the album was out last year. You're nominated now for it. Do you have new stuff that you're working on, or are you just concentrating on performing?
Well, I think we're all in that little space between like the end of your super busy season and then trying to make sure that you don't starve through the winter. And so I have lots more material to work on. I've got some stuff demoed, and that's the goal, is to make a new record, in this winter probably.
So is your inspiration being drawn from more current feelings events, or is it as a lifelong music fan and somebody who's always played that you have a lot to pull from anyway?
Yeah, I think there's probably a bit of both of that. I try not to get too political. When you talk about, I guess current events don't have to be political either, but
Sure.
um, I think when I start to write a song and I just um, start plucking at the guitar, and normally it's a hard thing to describe, but there's something there'll be a sentence form in my mouth that just works, phonetically. Everything is, the phrasing is there, and the line just happens, and that could be about almost anything.
Sure.
um, I was never one to really try and write about anything too specific. um, I mean, now, all of your songs you can draw from somewhere in your life, but let's say, let's write a song about the last election or whatever it may be, or let's write a song about the Toronto Maple Leafs or something. Like it's never really something that I concentrate on, a very specific thing. um, up until the Too Small a Town song, which dealt with the Portapique disaster. I don't know that I ever written a song that specific. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I did pick that up a little bit lyrically. Um, it seems like rather than painting a picture of a specific event or point in time, that you're more
Mhm.
drawing on the emotion of what you're singing about or what you're writing about,
Yeah.
and kind of drawing that emotion out of the listener.
Right. I mean, that song in particular, it was a weird place to be. It was the start of the whole COVID lockdown thing. It was April of 2020. Um, so we've like, um, my girlfriend and I, who co-wrote the song, Robin Chisholm, we saw the whole thing unfold basically on our phones, right?
Yeah.
Same as most people get their news that way, be it good or bad or truthful or not. Um, we saw it all take place, sadly, over Facebook, I think, more than anything else. And so that song, and in and around those few days, there was such an outpouring of support and emotion for those people. There were pipers giving their tributes. There were people posting pictures of particulars of the sunset on that particular
Mm-hmm.
day. It was spectacular. It was as if it was some kind of divine thing. um, that day. Just the sun, the sky lighting up in red and gold, and all the lyrics from that song are pulled from those couple of days that we spent, um, you know, poring over our phones just to see if we could find out anything new, or if anybody knew anything different from, the hours before. It was, you can imagine, Darcy, it was a really intense and stressful time in everybody's life here in Nova Scotia, and,
Mm-hmm.
and, and beyond. And so, we saw if when you listen to the song, those lines start to come into sharper focus, because, if you filter it through those couple of days,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Putting
know,
it through the lens really.
it makes a little bit of sense. I remember the day before it. Um, it was a beautiful day. It was like an early spring, like one of those days right at the end of the winter where you think, oh, maybe we're getting out of this a little bit. And so the song starts like that. It says, "There's nothing like a winter's day to ruin the hope of an early spring." And I remember waking up on the day that it happened and thinking, oh man, we must have just had that one nice weather day, because now it's all crappy again, right?
Yeah.
And so the song, it's very, there's no fiction in it, sadly, because it's a horrific event.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it really was. So was that kind of uh jumping point for, like you said you wrote that with your girlfriend. I did see that you had another co-write on one of your follow-up singles with some
Uh,
another gentleman.
not a co-write
Okay.
necessarily, but I had a brilliant musician play. a couple of them actually play on that record.
Okay.
I sent out the beauty of the internet, I guess. I just sent a message off overseas to a fellow by the name of Tim Eady. And Tim
Hmm.
is no stranger to people around here. Now he's been over a handful of times for different events and stuff. Um, and I just asked him if he wouldn't mind playing along, right? And I mean, studio wizardry being what it is, you can do that nowadays.
Yeah.
He just sent the tracks over digitally and had Jamie Foles produce the record, and so he pulled it all together and made it sound amazing, I thought. um, but it was really just that simple to reach out to one of the very best studio musicians anywhere probably and have him play. And then the first cut on the record is it was all JP Cormier
Oh,
played all of the instrumental parts on that.
I missed that in my research. That's a cool note.
Yeah, yeah. So it was neat to hang out with JP for the day and get some of his ideas and just to pull from that talent is enormous.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. There's a lot of years of experience there for sure.
yeah. I knew I had written a bluegrass song and I just couldn't make my hands do it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so
No,
I
that's really cool.
called upon the best for that. Yeah.
And so with that, like you have connections with some other musicians around, and a few different people worked with you on the album. Or when you're performing,
Hmm.
obviously it's feasible to be playing in the Cape Breton area because you're from there.
Sure. Yeah.
But are you circulating far outside of the Cape Breton area?
Well, we're trying to get things moving in that direction. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, hit a couple of festivals this year, and things like that. I was just chatting recently with some friends about putting together a little Newfoundland tour, and I know I've got some friends in PEI and in New Brunswick and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of the logistics at this point, and then
Sure.
and pulling the trigger on it, to go and do it. So yeah, it's but I travel solo for the most part, so
Okay.
it'll be for some of the bigger shows. I'll bring in uh, some friends to kind of augment the sound a little bit, but for the most part, it's just me in my car. You
Well,
know,
that works for a lot of the venues too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So coming up to Music Week, I don't think you were down specifically as a showcase, but you're
no,
playing in the same city the same
right,
weekend.
yeah. So it just
Kudos. That's
it's a bit
clever.
of a well, it's a kind of a comedy of errors. I think when Music Nova Scotia had put out their submissions deadlines and stuff like that, I hadn't applied to showcase. I was so busy at the time that it just got away from me, I think.
Sure.
And flash forward a year, and now I've got a nomination for an award, but I don't have a showcase during the
Hmm.
week. But I was able to line up a show at Breton Brewing there in Sydney, and so I'm going to try and promote that, as such, without stepping on too many toes, to come and
Well,
see.
it's 4 o'clock. There's some other afternoon stuff at the Music Week, but I think your performance is like early evening.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I
yeah.
mean, you're not going to interfere too much with other people. It's
No, I don't think so. And I mean, guy still has to eat, so
yeah, yeah,
can't be
exactly.
can't be turning down shows and stuff. Totally on me if I had been a little more on the ball and thinking in that direction. At the time, I was going to school. I was taking the music arts
Oh,
uh,
cool.
diploma at NSCC down in Sydney, and it was just really hectic, really busy.
Yeah.
It's a pretty full program, so I thought about it a couple of times and it got away from me, and eventually I was just like, yeah,
It was also a weird time because we all seem to be forgetting already, but like we were like in and out of lockdowns when they were
yeah,
making the announcements, and like you're
yeah.
trying to project like where am I going to be in a year from now?
I know.
Like it was hard.
Yeah, nearly impossible, right,
Yeah.
to predict some of these things, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't high on the list for me at the time.
So did
Uh,
you finish that music program then?
I did, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
So
got my
it was worth
papers.
putting the effort into it. You
Yeah,
got
for
through.
sure. Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard a lot of good things about the program.
It's a
I'm
great program. Yeah, really good program. First time it's been offered here in Cape Breton too. We were the first graduating class, so the
Oh,
program is
excellent.
only 3 years old, and it's getting better and better all the time. They've got some great staff there, very very passionate, driven people, that can take you as far as you need to go, I think,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what's next for you then? You must have something that you kind of want to be doing if you were taking the course too.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that you need to do is lay out some pretty firm goals for anything, and especially in this business, whether that be a week at a time or a month or a year at a time, 5 years, whatever it may be. And think the immediate goal is to get another record in the bag, so that when they ask you to submit for some things, that you can, you got
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
stuff together. Yeah, to get this record made, and to continue just to build on the relationships that I've formed over the last number of years. Um, got a real healthy working relationship with a lot of really cool people. So it's it's just to keep moving forward. You can get discouraged pretty quickly in this business. When you start to think that so and so's Instagram account is shinier than mine, and
Yeah.
they've got this many likes, or they're playing here or they're playing there. But I think the goal is to to keep moving forward, and just take the occasional look back and say, well, a year ago I wasn't playing cool shows this
Yeah.
cool, or I didn't have a record out, I wasn't nominated for anything. So things are moving in the right direction, and it's tough sometimes, like I said, to keep that positive and healthy focus.
Yeah. Looking back, it does help because
It does.
I understand that the motivation's hard when you're narrow focus. And then
It
when you look
is.
back, you realize, oh, I've been motivated to keep on this track. I am making progress.
Right. Yeah. And it's important to keep that in the back of your mind, never to rest on your laurels, so to speak, but
Mm-hmm.
to just encourage yourself, by looking back and saying, oh man, things are going okay. Because it's not every day you get the call from your favorite festival, or you get a call from somebody who wants you to do this, that, or the other thing. And those are the kind of things that keep the wheels turning. So
Yeah.
sometimes you need to look back and say, oh, we're all right here, we're on track.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's the same on this end with the award season and everything. There's a lot of
Yeah.
emails, and like I'm going
Yeah.
to Music Week. 2 years
Yeah.
ago, I wouldn't have had any reason to go to Music Week other than just watch some bands.
Yeah, there you
So
go. Right. Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
same idea. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now you're technically an emerging artist now. You've got.
Yeah.
Do you have your debut album out? You have follow up stuff on the go? And
Yeah. I feel too old to be emerging anything, but
yeah, we're
you
probably
know,
closer in age than you might realize.
yeah,
So we're probably in the same boat.
yeah. Here we are. It's when I went to school, I was by far the oldest, the guy in the class.
Yeah.
Older than the teachers, older than everybody. But that kind of stuff can keep you inspired too.
Yeah.
But you see that you get a chance to draw from some of that youthful energy, so to speak, and you get a chance to help them in areas where you've already been down a certain road, and things like that.
Yeah.
Nobody
Sometimes you don't
nobody
realize how much
knows.
experience you brought to the table with you
I
sometimes.
know it can be a little depressing, but nobody knows
Yeah.
everything, and it's nice to be able to help when you can.
Yeah.
And I think, Darcy, it's always, always, always about a relationship between you, your listener, another player, a producer, venue owners. It's always about just being positive and building friendships.
Hmm.
If there's anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to let me know. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to be in town next week. We should drop, have a coffee or something like that. Those are the things that mean the most. Because oftentimes something good will come of a conversation like that, or an effort like that. And that would never have happened if you didn't put in that effort, or you didn't try to foster those relationships and keep them strong and healthy. And so, and just meet the coolest people in the world,
Oh
doing this
yeah.
things.
I am curious if it's like, I mean, we're an East Coast music podcast, but we've been focusing so primarily on Nova Scotia, being that we're both Nova Scotia based. I
Right.
do start to wonder if that's a Nova Scotia thing or if that's just a music industry thing. Because
Yeah.
everyone does seem very open, collaborative. I mean, there's
Hmm.
different people that have opinions, but especially around industry type events or
Yeah.
like in an interview type process, everyone
Yeah.
has the same type of upbeat, positive attitude,
Yeah,
optimism.
yeah, you have to. I think I don't think you'll last long in this business if you weren't fun to work with.
Yeah,
At least there's too many. You know, if I hired a fiddler who didn't necessarily work out or didn't jive with the feel in the room or was difficult and this and that and the other, man, there's 50 more of you.
yeah, I
You know what I mean?
suppose.
And
Yeah,
that's not to say that that they're interchangeable and this and that, and they're not. And I'm not
no,
just talking about fiddlers, I mean just everybody. But you need to we always joke about the first rule of the music business is just not to be a dick.
yeah,
And it really it's true, because if you go in open-minded and agreeable, sky's the limit. you know
yeah. It definitely seems that way, and proof is in the pudding. You're
yeah,
you're doing well with your efforts here.
yeah, I'm just giving her a go, as they say.
So I see you got the guitar there too. Were you wanting to play us a
It's
little tune?
I can, sure. It's mostly it's just a prop, keep me from falling over, keep me
Yeah,
from
well, if you're willing to play us a tune, what I'll do with our episode here is the song we're going to exit with. I'll enter in with that, and
Sure.
we can exit out with you playing.
All right. So
And I remind everyone to try to catch you on November 5th, and you also have another date on November 12th in Membertou.
do I? Yeah.
Yeah, at Kiju's restaurant, which I don't
Kiju's,
know.
yeah. Kiju's a great spot. It's super comfortable to play in. There's always a nice little crowd there. Really good food. Great
That's what I
staff.
was going to ask. Well, there
Yeah.
you go. So it's a couple
Great
weeks
food.
after. Might be worth a drive up.
Totally. Yeah. Totally.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. And
So we're gonna do. Is it "Catch My Breath"? Is that the one we were looking at?
whatever one you want to use,
Okay.
we'll go with that.
Sure. All right. Well, I wrote this song for my gal Robin just shortly before we became partners, I suppose, and it was after a period of I don't know, we'll say disappointment in a different relationship for me. It'd been a tough couple of years, and at the time found myself recently single and kind of trying to champion that a little bit. To tell myself that I was a heck of a lot stronger than I probably was, and that I could cook all my own meals and I can do all this all by myself. I don't need anybody, right? This is what I was trying to tell myself. And Robin kind of came into my life in a very innocent way, and her and I became really great friends, to the point where it looked like it was going to turn into something far greater than friends. But again, I was still dragging my heels and kind of stuck in the mud from this other experience. And so I was trying to tell her in a roundabout way that if you can give me some time with this, like just give me a minute to catch my breath here, and I think we'll be okay, right? But I don't want to commit to something and somebody getting hurt, anything like that. So it was just me in romantic limbo, I guess. So I wrote her this song, and as kind of just maybe an apology or a plea for her to put up with me for a little while longer while I got my act together. Everything sound okay on your end?
Yeah.
Well, the light don't always shine between your heart and mine like I'd hoped. We found each other somewhere near the end of our roads. Something about you, it settled in my chest. I tell you that I loved you if I could only catch my breath. I've been fighting off the demons, found themselves a home inside my head. And most days I've been feeling like I can't get out of bed. Something about you, ain't like all the rest. I tell you that I love you if I could only catch my breath. But I can't see why you're hanging on to me like I'm not some kind of hopeless case, not some kind of thief. And every time I say your name, I can hardly breathe. Well, there's a lineup of shadows I don't think the light will ever break. To lie and watch you sleeping, that's almost more than I can take. But there's something about you that scares me to death. I tell you that I love you if I could only catch my breath. Well, I tell you that I love you if I could only catch my breath.